When I was about 19, I had to move out of my mom's place fast because she got laid off. My crap job couldn't cover anything and our lease was up at the end of the month. She went to live with family and I found a room in an ad in the papers. The lady seemed nice. I would also have 2 other roommates, but I couldn't meet them. The lady also had 3 big-ass dogs. She was kind of an old hippie, but not evil. And I was a stoner, so I thought, what the fuck, why not? Since I had to move by the next day and she didn't mind my pot smoking. I got all my stuff in. Big TV, every gaming system since Atari, and etc. I had just dropped the last thing when she comes in and says, "Cool stuff, wanna hit?" I was like, "Oh, you got some bud? Sure." And she says, "Nah, I got the hard stuff." At that moment, I instantly regretted having moved there. So I begged one of my friends to stay there in my room. And I put a new lock on my door because I have to go to work. I got off work and come home around midnight to open the door to the old hippie lady, the 2 other roommates who looked like they could eat someone up for dinner, and 6 random giant black dudes all smoking crack in the living room. Turns out, these are my roommates and my immediate neighbors. This is day 1. Day 2. I talked to my unemployed friend into squatting into my room to watch my things while I'm at work. I put a stronger lock on the door, and hide strategic swords and knives around the room, because, fuck, who knows? This was a smart thing to do. About a week goes by of me going to work, coming home, dodging my scary, now roommates and random crackheads, hiding in my room to smoke some pot and play games with my buddy, and searching for a new place at all times. My stuff still somehow goes missing. Another friend comes over because he doesn't believe how bad it is and wants to see it. He gets mugged and attacked between my front door and his car on his way out. This is a suburban housing development, by the way. 2 to 3 weeks in, around 3 to 4 in the morning, I am awakened to the sound of the front door crashing in, the dogs going nuts, the old lady screaming as she runs down the hall trying to wake us all screaming, "They're killing my dogs." Me and my buddy open the bedroom door expecting to see cops. We look down the hall towards the front door, and it is 3 guys in ski masks with baseball bats beating the shit out of her Rottweilers. One of the creepy roommates comes out of his room with a meat hook in his hand full of crack rage and charges at the guys. I am about to lock our door up and call the cops when my buddy, I shit you not, grabs my shoulder and says, "Dude, I really like those dogs." I give him the "are you fucking kidding me" look. He counters with puppy dog eyes. Fine, but they better not have guns. I grab the samurai swords, the sharp ones. I get the black one and the Wolverine claw. I would like to say what followed was an epic battle, but the 3 home invaders, already dealing with 1 remaining dog and a crazed mid-hook wielding crackhead, took one look at us screaming and running at them down the hallway, decided to what the fuck this and take off. I would like to think that we furthered the stereotype that all long hairy trench coat wearing white boys are not to be fucked with. They were arrested later that night trying to rob a 7-Eleven and having about as much success since there was a cop in the parking lot. Turns out, they were some of our crackhead neighbors. I got the fuck out of there the next day. My buddy took the dog that lived. I gave him the 2 swords he wielded. I would like to think he and Mud went off to have grand adventures, but 2 weeks later he was sleeping in my new closet and the dog was at his mom's. The old hippie lady, it seems, was only 30 and just aged badly due to a major crack habit. She smoked all the money that me and the creepy roommates gave her for rent, and they all got evicted at the end of that first month by her father who owned the house. If you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. My first apartment was in downtown Albany, New York, close to the governor's mansion. The building was old. It even had a little plaque on the outside that said it was built in 1848 and was a town historical monument. I lived on the floor of the 2-story building. The ground of the apartment was wavy. The owner explained it was because the floorboards had settled, but the way the wood ebbed, it felt dangerous, maybe rotting or warped. The bedroom was on the western side of the building, and it extended past the actual building. And on the left wall in the bedroom was this door, slimmer and smaller than a normal door, and crooked like a funhouse door. When cities were constructed in the 19th century, just enough space was left between buildings so people could park their horses in between them. Over the years, the space in between the buildings was walled off and the extra room for either building. The space was used to extend the bedroom, and was also used as a storage behind that crooked door in what they affectionately called the horse walk by the owner. The horse walk always freaked me out. It was always at least 10 degrees hotter in the horse walk than in the rest of the house, even in the dead of winter, and always felt unnaturally humid. I had stored some boxes and an old microwave in there, but I never really spent much time around it. The floor in the horse walk was rotted, and plywood and cardboard had been placed over the floor beams. The owner said it wasn't smart to spend much time in there. One night, I was sifting through an old box of clothes, collecting things to donate. It was maybe 9 or 10 at night, and it was late November. The horse walk was its usual sultry 80 degrees, which always felt so unnatural and unsettling. But I didn't want to move the whole box out of the storage space, just to grab some jeans that didn't fit me anymore. The crooked door to the horse walk had a spring close, so it never stayed open by itself. So I had my bed's end table propping it open, and a single exposed light bulb hanging from its wire was all that lit a small space. In a single moment, the door slid out from behind the end table, and the light bulb went dead. It was the strangest feeling. I was frozen in panic, but my eyes quickly adjusted to the sudden lack of light. But this is what I'll never forget. I realized it wasn't pitch black in that windowless little room in the early nights in the upstate New York. What seemed like rays of sunlight shone through the cracks in the wood on the northern portion of the horse walk and came streaming through the dust. I mean, that could be explained by a lot of things. Maybe it was the light from the street lamp right outside my second-story apartment. But what really got my feet moving was that I noticed the rays of light coming through the cracks in the wood were intermittently blocked by a shadow moving quite excitedly behind the wall. I never could bring myself to go back into the horse walk. And when I moved out, I asked someone to grab my things for me out of the storage space. About 15 to 16 years ago, my family had moved to New Jersey from the Philadelphia area. We lived in Cape May Courthouse, and my dad, who was like a handyman at the time, got a job at this hotel called the Queen Victoria, I think. I was like 5 or 6. Well, of course we lived in the hotel for like 4 years. So I, for all intents and purposes, spent a decent amount of time here. I had birthdays and grew up in this place. Apparently, one night, I went missing. Just fucking vanished. My dad and the other guy who worked there are out looking for me. They call the police, and 8 hours later in the morning, they find me miles down the beach, sleeping on the ground. All I told them was a lady had walked me down there. My mom flips, tells my dad, fuck this place, time to move. So we moved to Pittsburgh. Now jump to when I'm 18. My sister is looking through old pictures. I've got Disney pictures, birthday photos, all that shit. My mom had a phase during which she took a shit ton of photos of her cat. So, we get through all these photos. We're all sitting in my living room, middle of the day. My sister looks at some photos and says, "Do you remember this at all?" and hands me these photos. They were all photos taken of me, apparently talking to this big white thing. There were things in almost all the photos taken of me while in New Jersey. The weirdest part was, when we moved out, we went to stay in a hotel closer to like Princeton, and it was right around the time of my dad's birthday, so photos were taken. All of them with me in it had some strange man hovering the shit out of me and my sister. Worst fucking part about this whole story is that we lost our house a couple of years ago, so most of the photos got tossed or are in storage, but if I find any, I'll totes post them up.